All right, welcome back. Episode 2 of the live stream of Building Wealth and Health. Dr. Matt will be joining us shortly, but I am going to start us off this evening. Hope everyone is doing well, and I'm excited to do this stream. There's a couple things I wanted to talk about briefly, so good thing Dr. Matt's not here to get in the way. No, I'm just joking. But I'm under contract on another property. This time it's in the Denver area, and so I wanted to talk a little bit about real estate investment again, but more specifically development and things that I'm looking to hopefully do here in the next few years, starting with this one, hopefully, as far as alternative construction and creating a more affordable housing inventory. And the crazy thing with that is it's being touted, I'd say, more recently as being impossible. And you hear builders say it, you hear realtors say it's just going to keep going up. Housing prices just are out of control. The number of people out there looking for houses is in some ways unforeseen, at least in the last several decades. And it's really hard for people to get a house because, one, there's no supply, and two, the price of a home is not equated to the cost of living in most regions of the country. So here's what I'm trying to do with this one. I'm going to bring my screen up here in a second, but I've got under contract with my business partner on a 2-bedroom, 1-bath property in Denver. It's right next to a couple of different developments that have been put up in the last few years. These are attached dwellings that are in this little neighborhood right in the heart of the city. And with prices going up and up and up, even the attached dwellings are becoming unreachable. And when we first looked at this one, we looked at it for several reasons. One, hello, thanks for joining us this evening. Nice to see you guys. First thing we saw was the property as is. There is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, like I said, on the property. It's on a very big lot. It's actually on a double lot, and the zoning is allowing us to do attached dwellings for 2 units or 3 units. So I could do a row home development here, meaning they're basically 3 townhomes together on this lot, and they're very deep lots. Townhomes in this neighborhood for approximately 1,600 feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, are selling currently for about $550,000. I just feel like it's becoming so expensive, and I know everybody's seeing this, but I could turn this development around and make $580 to $590 on a unit. And if I look at it that way, there's huge potential here. And as we talk about all this stuff about how to build wealth, and we talk about how real estate is one of the best ways to do that, because you can get in on an asset side as opposed to the stock market where you're basically buying and selling paper for the most part. You can get in on the asset side and hold something that will continue to grow for you, even in a market where it's running way up and everybody's freaking out about is the market going to crash? And we'll talk about what does that really mean here in a minute. But as everything's running way up, people are expecting a reversal at some point. Now, every market ebbs and flows. If you don't understand what that is, it's really just markets will correct themselves over time for various different reasons. And throughout these shows that we'll be putting on, I can explain a lot of how those corrections happen and different reasons why. The most recent correction that I'm seeing, and I've talked about this on my channel, on this channel, the Built by Bailey's, we get into, what's up, Troy? How's it going? We get into lots of different situations where volatility plays a bigger role than anything else. And right now, that is the equation for volatility in the real estate market is really, like I said on the last show, talked about supply and demand. And the underlying cause of these escalating values, shall we say, I'm not even sure if they're a value anymore, it's off the chart kind of numbers, is caused by a giant demand for people wanting to buy homes. And that's people moving from state to state where there wasn't a lot of building happening before. But it's also happening because there was an underlying equation of people having to be in certain areas for work. And what I'm seeing in this market, and especially over the last 14 to 16 months, is a wild, well, we've seen obviously a wild transition to where a lot of these companies people are working for have either been forced to or been chosen to or both put their employees at home. And now they realize they don't have to have everybody in one spot to do most of the work. So these people are now deciding I can work from anywhere. If I'm allowed to work from home, then I can go anywhere that I want. And that's driving part of this market in the last 14 to 16 months too, is people are saying, well, I can move out of state for my job. I don't have to live in a certain city. I don't have to commute anymore. So I want a house that's in an area that I like with amenities that I like and a size that we need. So now you're thinking about home offices. We've got to add some square foot to that. People may not have been able to or needed to have a home office before. And I'm just looking at Dr. Matt's text. Dr. Matt, you're killing me. But they're looking at a market that is allowing them to be more flexible. And that being said, people are selling their homes in certain areas, or they were renting and they're moving to another new area because they're having the ability to live where they want for a lot of the actual economy and actual market. Top that with a pretty depleted market to begin with, and like I've been talking about before, you're having a year-over-year inventory look in real estate across the country of a giant drop in inventory just because of a lot of it was because of COVID over the last year. People were just not willing to put their house on the market for various reasons. People didn't want to have anybody in their house. They were unsure of what the market was going to do. They were questioning where they wanted to be. Some were questioning what their career was going to be. And so everything was put on hold for a lot of it. So now that things have started to kind of open back up, there's at least a little more definition of what's going to happen, where people are going to be, if they're going to keep their job or not. And also the idea that people are now able to more freely live where they want and get a home that they want. There's even more demand in a market that was already depleted. So simple supply and demand pushes that price back up because people are literally overbidding on overpriced homes. And we're looking at a 15 to 20% increase. Well, good evening, Dr. Reddy. Stand by. Let me see if I can get Dr. Reddy a link. Hold that thought. Let's see here. I'm going to put this up for you guys while we're waiting. It's always the same link, by the way, Dr. Matt. It's okay. Technology is not his friend. So anyway, as I can try and multitask here, we're seeing an even more depleted market because of all these various reasons, and people are desperate in a lot of ways to actually move because of these factors, and so they're offering even more over and over the price market. And the trick with that is, if a house is already, let's say, 50% over what a true market value is, and they're going 30 to 50,000, sometimes even more over that ask price, it really pushes a lot of people out of the market. Yeah, like Troy said, he's got 100 on staff, works from anywhere, Denver salary versus location, and we kick in on home office expenses. That's what a lot of companies are doing. So guess what? That even adds more value to when people want to or are looking for homes. And as a realtor, I'm getting that all the time. They're actually looking for more homes because they need a home office, but because the company's paying for some of this stuff. And their companies are paying for this stuff because they can afford to do so. They're saving money because they're downsizing on their commercial real estate investment side. They don't need all the overhead. So it makes sense for them to send people home and keep them there. Productivity has actually increased overall in most reported industries. They've seen their productivity actually actually increase. So, Dr. Matt, check your email. So, I guess in a long-winded explanation, we've got a market now that is giving more flexibility where people can live, but less inventory to do it. But it's still a good time to get into real estate. There's no reason to hesitate. You know, you could have gotten in 10 or 12 years ago. That'd have been great, but you can get in now. If you're not going anywhere, there's no reason not to get into real estate. And the thing I always hear from people too is if people are renting and they've got a lease up for a little while, they hesitate to buy real estate. Listen, your primary residence doesn't have to be the only real estate you invest in. If you're renting, you can still buy real estate and make it an investment property. Yeah, loan structure is a little bit different, but there's opportunity in this environment, even in an overpriced environment, to make it work. So the biggest hurdle right now is, you know, competing for the same house with, you know, 20 other contestants, right? But if your flexibility in your primary residence allows you to kind of get out of the I would say the more upgraded markets, then do it. You know, think outside the box. If there's not opportunity for you to do that from too far away, or you're still not able to, maybe, let's say, move out of state or move too far away from what, you know, the structure invited on your company, you can still get in on the investment side and buy smaller properties, because guess what? Over time, you may be able to rent that out and then get back in on that property and move back in and create your primary residence after holding it. And it's, you know, obviously it's going to make you money while it's either being rented or you get back into it. So, you know, it's going to appreciate over time. That's what I'm getting to. So that being said, like I said, I'm under contract on one now, and I'm trying to make this obviously profitable for me because I need to support myself and help others, but I'm also looking to try and make this a more affordable development. So I'm leaning towards getting onto, sorry, I'm playing with Dr. Matt's camera. Leaning into getting onto a more affordable system, but I want to get 3 units in here if possible. The zoning allows me for 3 units on this. So I'm going to pull this up real quick so you guys can see it. And this is the actual property right now. It's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. I mean, I'll say I overpaid for it, but who hasn't overpaid for things right now, right? Like I said, the zoning is, as you can see here, it's SRH, and it's 2.5 means I'm allowed to build 2.5 stories. That's with a bulk plane restriction, but I can get up to 2.5 stories on this development, whether it be 2 units or 3. How we doing, Dr. Matt? Are we in yet? Poor guy. I'm trying, buddy. And I was really excited to talk about some stuff with Dr. Matt, so hopefully we can get him in here. So this development, so lot size you can see is pretty big. It's a 50-foot frontage. It's a deep lot. And it's got the ability for 3. I want to make these 3 units affordable. So I can literally sell one townhome, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, for $580,000 to $590,000. Based on what I purchased for and construction costs. It's Troy, I may have to bring you in. You seem to be a little.
I think I'm here. Can you guys hear me now?
I mean, we all know how doctors, they're always running late, right? They're always behind schedule. And listen, it probably won't. Dr. Matt's going to tell us what happened. It's not going to be his fault, I guarantee you. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. I was all set at 7. I was ready to roll, and it just wouldn't connect. So I don't know what to tell you. Finally did.
See, it's not his fault. I don't know, but it's only episode 2, man. So it's all growing pains. For everybody that's in here, I don't know. I think you've done more live streams than I have.
Yeah,
because I've done 2, including this one.
Okay.
So there you go. But I'm in here. It's actually kind of warm. I don't know what's going on. It's getting warmer. I don't know if I'm ready for the warmer weather. It was almost 80 again today, wasn't it?
Yes, it was very close.
Come on, man. You at least have to know
The weather? Is that my job too now?
You got to have something ready to go.
Got to bring something. All right.
Bring something, man.
Fair enough.
I'm just going to clear you out of here.
Yeah.
But I was talking about this. So this is a development I'm working on. We close in 3.5 weeks.
Awesome.
I'm working like mad to get concept drawings into construction drawings. But what we have to do is decide on what we're doing, two units or 3 units. Also, on the moral side, and Matt knows this too, but this is what I've been working on for a while, is alternative construction ideas to keep the cost of construction down, which in turn, as I've been rambling on about this whole market, is keeping the entire cost down. So my bottom line, I'd like to keep the same, but I'd like to give a product back to the market to someone that can actually afford it.
Yeah.
I was talking about cost of living here a little bit and what's happening with real estate and how overpriced it has become. And a lot of what's overpricing the market is just utter lack of supply. And it's actually decreased year over year in a market that was already depleted to begin with. But then people are becoming so desperate to move because now they're allowed in a lot of ways, like Troy's saying, even at his job, he's got 100 people on staff and they can work from anywhere. They don't need all that overhead, as companies have realized. So people are more flexible in where they can live because they're not commuting. Right. So they're getting more desperate to find something. So, you're getting contracts that are coming in, and you just recently purchased a property, but you can see how fast it can escalate $20,000 to $30,000 to $50,000 over ask.
Yeah. I think we got in on mine at the right time.
We got in, we dialed yours in perfectly. It's Dr. Matt bought his right at the beginning of the year. We tried to do it at the end of last year just for a bunch of tax reasons and so forth. It didn't quite work. It's a brand new condo development that's finished, but they're filling them in as we speak. But it almost worked out better because that time of year, especially with the lender and the equation of what capacity they had as far as owner to third-party ownership in that building, they were a little bit tighter on lending, so it actually worked out in your favor. And like I was saying, my whole point with all this rambling is you can still time this market. There's still deals out there. They're harder to get, but with all the panic ensuing, you have to understand any investment is, over time it'll work its way back, but you don't want to overpay so much that it takes so much time to get it back.
Right.
And we're trying to build your wealth portfolio. You've got to be patient in a lot of ways, and so I think part of the rental market is going to change because of that. If people start getting more patient, they're going to wait a little bit longer. And I think that's what's going to have to happen in some ways because this market is just not a lot of people to get in. There's just only so many people that can buy a home right now.
Right.
So one thing I'm trying to do is I'm increasing inventory on this project, right? I'm hopefully adding 3 units to the market that weren't there before. I mean, if this was a turn and burn flip, it would be adding 1 to 1, right? It's a house there currently. We upgrade it and it's a house and then sell it as a house. It's single family.
Yeah.
But then add 3 for the price of 1, we're equating a little inventory. But I'm trying to dial this in so the overall cost to build this is less, and I can then deliver a product to the market that's more affordable. And I think that's the only direction we can go at this point, and that's why I want to run through all this alternative construction. But that being said, that's the key. I think the key to anything in real estate is just like with the market. When you're buying the stock market, you want to be patient, especially right now. You're going to have panic buying in. I think you're going to start seeing some panic selling too. It's going to start opening up. I mean, we're now in the last few days of May. We're halfway through 2021, which is crazy to think. And supply is going to come back. And I actually was taking a look at this article that was kind of talking about a little bit of this. And this guy, which I've read a lot of this other stuff in here, he says as the economy continues to recover, more potential sellers will enter the market as they gain confidence in their employment. And I was addressing the fact that people are now A little bit more. They're not in the dark anymore about are they going to have their job or not. If they have their job still at this point, they're pretty convinced I'm not going anywhere. There's actually, like Troy was saying, they're giving incentives to his employees as they work from home. So there's kind of a commitment to keep the people that are already on staff. And then you're getting more of a confidence in the overall return to normal as we talk about it, just with the virus and everything else. So slowly you're going to see the existing properties pop on the market because, again, there is a ton of equity in homes and there's a lot of demand for overpaying until that supply catches up. So they can make a lot of money to go somewhere else, even to other markets that are less expensive. We're seeing that here in Colorado. People from California are coming out here thinking the real estate market is cheap compared to where they're coming from, which it is. And they have more flexibility in what they can buy. When all that dissipates and slows down, then we're going to see what the real market's going to do. And there will be opportunity at that point too. So
right.
like you said, it's all about timing.
Yeah. It sounds, I mean, I've been thinking a lot about this here, in my context around health, but I think there's like, you're like laying like groundwork right now for these kinds of moves, right? Like you're thinking ahead, you're thinking, long-term versus short-term, you're looking at it in a sense of, what's going to be the best. It's not a quick fix, I guess, is what I'm saying.
No, it won't be. And there's the bear market people that look at this as they're basically trying to plot the crash of 2021. Right. And I was kind of, as I was rambling before you got on, I was talking about how the market always corrects itself. Doesn't matter, there's lots of different reasons for corrections. And when we talk about the crash, my envision of what actually a crash is going to be, especially in the second half of the year, one, supply is going to hit the market for variables. But two, you're going to start, as supply starts to return, you're going to start seeing less and less bids in for, a substantial rate over the market list price. Mm-hmm. If a property's listed at $500,000, they're not going to get 20 people offering 20 to 50,000 over. It's going to come back to that actual, that actual list price of $500,000.
Sure.
Which is still over where a lot of the market is going to be. But there's your correction, as we talk about. That's not really a crash. It's more of it's going to be a hard correction because a lot of it's 20 to 30% over the bid or over the ask anyway.
Right.
So you're gonna start seeing people saying, look at what's happening to the market. It's crashing. We're down 30% year over year. And the second half of the year is more homes are being built and more people are putting their homes on the market, but it's really not crashing because what it's doing is correcting itself from a really messed up market to begin with from the last 18 months to 2 years. Luckily, Dr. Matt didn't do that. I don't think he overpaid. In my opinion, he overpaid only on what the actual market is. We didn't actually blow up anything. There was no rush to get to that. So, your plan on this one is live there a year or two and then invest in another one and rent this one and buy and hold, man. I'm telling people, buy and hold.
Yep. So, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm excited. It should be a good project.
Nice, man.
It's going to be a slow go. It's going to be a slow progression. But we're going to have, I think, a really good product at the end of this. And I'm hoping to add at least some small alternative construction ideas into this, if not a full blown, like prefabricated.
Yeah. Where is it?
It's in Denver. Uh-huh. It's kind of in the, it's a hard pocket to explain. It's an area, it's on South Comary, but it's in like a Virginia Village, Washington neighborhood, which it's over by the George Washington High School.
Yeah.
It's in a for the people that are listening out of state, it's in an area that has slowly progressed over many, many years, but there's a lot of commercial, a lot of redevelopment that's happened over there. There's a lot of brand new $1 million homes right in this little pocket. There's some cool mid-century modern homes, and then right next to the development that we're going to have is right next to another development that's a bunch of row homes as well. So it's all going to be multifamily, and I think that's what needs to happen, and especially in this pocket. We'll see what happens, but
Nice.
Yeah, buy real estate, man. It's the best way to continue to build your portfolio, build your wealth. Um, I'm going to harp on this on every show. There's no reason not to, and there's a lot of ways to get into it.
Yep.
Lending's a fun place to be right now, but you can get it done. There's a lot of products out there that will get you in for anybody. So hopefully I'm here to help a little bit.
Yeah. Awesome.
So there's my ramble on the housing market and what I'm up to. Did you see, speaking of the market, did you see, and I don't know if Troy's still listening, but we had a little AMC GameStop wiggle again today.
Yeah.
There's a couple other ones I've gotten in on that side, but this, as far as building wealth, please don't play the game of squeezes.
Yeah.
But if you've got money to wiggle with, there's no better way to create your down payment than playing this ridiculous market.
Playing some squeezes, yeah.
Get your long term. I mean, before you get any of that stuff, you want to make sure you get your long term.
Yeah.
Invest in good stuff. Calculate a number that you can get away with every month to put into a long term portfolio, and then just be religious with it and do it every month, once a month, and then you let it sit there. Don't touch it. And you're good to go. Or do what Dr. Reddy does and make $1 million on Cardano.
Yeah, there we go. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of kind of the way I've been thinking about working with people's health these last few months too. I think with this whole, last year, I guess, really, in just the idea around it's a long game. It's not like quick fixes. And, the problem for so many people this year became so obvious that they just had such chronic issues going on. That were a long time in coming, that were, huge problems for many years, and so, resolving them doesn't happen overnight. Resolving them's a long game. And then once you resolve them, you got to keep going with it, right? You got to keep supporting it. You got to keep the momentum going, so I think it's, very similar to what you're saying, have your plan, look what you can do, stick to it all the time. And, it fluctuates and you have to be a little bit mobile, right? But, you have your
overall... like I said, the market's going to correct itself,
yeah.
But just take a deep breath when it does. You're going to be fine. You're in it for the long haul.
Right.
Patience is a good word that I've been fed from other people. Patience. You want to play it, but you have to have patience in doing it.
Patience, yeah.
It's the key.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think people just want to quick fixes and things to be done right away, and want to go from 0 to 60 and overnight. And it's to mix some metaphors there, but it's I these things take time, and they the other thing too, it's there's a lot of learning to do, I think, in a lot of this sort of stuff. People. I mean, I look at myself in my own health issues that I work with, and I'm still learning about certain things, or, and of course with all the investing and all that, I mean, that's like a new language to me. I'm going back to school, so of course I got to learn, you have to learn on that. So how in the world would you expect somebody to know how to do any of that stuff? You got to learn. Right.
Exactly.
I mean, and that's what I think that's why we can be resources in our fields for people, because, we have learned some of it, not all of it, but enough of it that we can get people moving the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the key to anything in life, is having that patience, but be patient in the fact that you've got to learn stuff. And if you can learn new things, and learning those things is a benefit to you, right?
Yeah.
And that with anything else, you grow from that, but it's a benefit to you because you're going to gain one more piece that can help you, progress in life and build your wealth. And I think I put this up because I'm just this is a zoning code book that I haven't looked at in a long time. There's so many different, across the Front Range of Colorado, but especially the Denver area, there's so many different zoning code books, depending on what part of town it's in, what's allowed, what's not. And to make it really simple for everybody listening, everything has different codes. And you can see, like right here, this is a code for a certain allowable structure, how it's to be built, where the property is supposed to be built, whatever. And like I was talking about at the beginning, this 2.5 means 2.5 stories, but this SRH is a code that dictates all these different things that I can and cannot do on this property. Right. I hadn't looked at the SRH S code book in a long time, and so when it popped up, I was kind of at first kind of like, oh yeah, I think we can do whatever. And then I realized I better not. That's like death, you know.
Right. Better.
What did we learn in high school? Is don't assume anything. Makes an ass out of you and me. So I had to go back and I had to like relearn the S code book because I couldn't remember exactly everything we were going to do. I wasn't even sure if we could do three units here.
Right.
But along with all this other stuff, this is just one more thing that we're talking about learning is I got to go back and remember all this stuff. So totally. I couldn't even find it on my folders. It was like buried at the bottom on my computer. So I don't ever go to. I mean, S is not a common code.
Sure.
Anyway, so just one more thing. You always got to learn.
Totally. And stuff. I mean, stuff changes all the time too, right? You got to learn as far as Yeah. I mean, that's the way it is in my world for sure. So, and your interests change. Your interests change. I was thinking about that the other day too. Like I get bored so easily doing the same thing over and over again. And like that's why I'm like looking for like, what else could I look at? What other things can I learn? What can I? And it can be daunting sometimes because sometimes I feel like, there's other people that know this better than me. Why would I want to? But it's like, not really. I mean,
right.
Of course there's experts in these things and that's great, but there's other people that need to know it too. So you can be one of them. So
yeah. And just in a general sense, if people are, we hire people for all kinds of stuff and work with people that have, specific and special knowledge of certain things, but to understand it in a general layman's terms is important because it's hard to make a decision if you're staring like a deer in headlights about something.
True.
I mean, you can equate to like going to a mechanic and knowing nothing about a car, and they're telling you, it's the calipers. What was that ad a long time ago? It's the calipers.
That's the calipers. Like,
what the hell is he talking about?
Yeah.
You don't even know what that is. It's it gets tricky. So you have to you want a broad knowledge of things for sure.
Right.
Especially if you're trying to create, a wealth environment, and wealth meaning, building money for, the long term and creating an environment where you can live off your means when you don't have to work anymore. It's okay to continue working, and as you're saying, your hobbies change, your interests change, but you want to be able to make those choices later to do whatever you want. And it's,
totally.
Life goes way too fast for sure, so you want to make sure that you have your ability to live it the best you can and the fullest. What was interesting a minute ago, you were talking about understanding that things are going to take a while and you got to be patient, and people want to have things happen quickly. A lot of times we have this mindset in this day and age of like snapping our fingers because things happen so quickly and we're able to get information quickly, and technology allows lots of things to happen quickly. But even the same thing you see it all the time with your patients in health is they want a quick fix. I'm tired of feeling this way. How do I just give it? Just tell me what to take and then make it go away. Fix it. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's challenging. It really is, and I feel for people because they're feeling crummy. They feel bad. They want to get better, and so they want the thing that's going to make them feel better. But and that's why it's so important to have tools that you can utilize short term, but also really emphasizing the importance of the long game. That this is a process, and we like to think of things as like a start, a middle, and a finish. Like that kind of is sort of our mindset about a lot of things, and sometimes it does occur that way. But I think, for the most part, things in life there's starts and there's middles, but they're, often the finishes are not really there. It's like another start or another, it just continues on, right? Like
Yep.
it just, you don't ever, there's not a there, and I think that's true for health. When when people get to a place where they're living lives they want to live and they're doing pretty well, they got to maintain it. They're not there. Can't just quit and stop and think like everything's going to just magically take care of itself.
Right.
It's like you got to keep going with it, and you got to keep, it's like a new beginning, I guess, all those things that they say, right? But, so anyway, yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities there, that we can look at for sure.
Yeah. And Dr. Matt was on the Built by Bailey's podcast a few days ago. And at the end of the podcast, you said something that kind of, and I wanted to ask, but I know we were trying to wrap up and get out of there. And it was, you were talking about two things people can do right now to help themselves. And you said one was drink more water. And I think we've had this discussion for probably a decade and a half now about the fact that people don't understand what it means to drink enough water in a day. And when you gave the equation of like how to calibrate how much water to have in a day, people were like, there's no way I drink that much water. How do you do that? And you can address that in a sec. But the other thing you said was stop drinking soda, which I thought was an interesting comment, because it was like, of all things you could pick, sugars and fats and all that stuff. What is it with soda per se? Is it just that everybody drinks it?
Well, yeah, I think there's some crazy statistic, like the average American, or the average soda consumption per person in America is like 50 plus gallons or something like that a year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's absurd. It's like, it just becomes, it's just what people drink, right? It's like they just have it in their fridge. And so,
and I don't drink any, honestly. Right. So it's like, if I'm not drinking any, then someone else is drinking more than that.
Yeah, we're looking at averages, right? So, it's absurd, and then you can look at this. Obviously, there's the sugar content. There's the, but really I think the main thing with all that is actually high fructose corn syrup is a significant problem for people for multiple things. So I think, there was a study that they did at CU a few years back looking at adolescents who had high blood pressure, kids, like young, like middle school, high school kids with high blood pressure. And they basically identified fructose was the issue. Now, fructose is in like fruit juice. Like if you drink a ton of orange juice, you're going to get a bunch of fructose. But the main place we get fructose is probably soda, because of the high fructose corn syrup. And that's added to everything, right? It's like if you look at any sweetener, super cheap sweetener, they simply eliminated a high fructose corn syrup and fructose from these kids. And like 2 to 3 weeks later, their blood pressure is normalized.
Jeez.
So,
it's a matter of weeks.
Yeah, very quickly. And I bring that. I like that study because it was, number one, it was relatively simple to do, and number two, like you saw pretty immediate results, which I think so many people when they're looking at some of these lifestyle changes think they're going to see no results for a long time. Now, when I say long game, I'm talking about slow, like incremental processes that you do see, but building over time, right? So, and younger people, of course, are going to have faster turnarounds of things. So, but so I saw another thing about gout and fructose. Anyway, there's just all kinds of things that seem to pop up. There's all the insulin issues, the high, blood sugar levels that happen with it. There's the acidity. It's like ridiculously acidic. if you want to clean your golf clubs, just stick it in a bunch of Coke, and you'll clean off your clubs. So, there's a lot of reasons, for that, but it does go back to what you're saying about pretty acidic. Too. Yeah. So it goes back to what you were saying about like water too. I think when you're not drinking soda, you're potentially going to be drinking more water. And hydration is more than just water. The hydration has to do with mineral balance and things like that too. But water obviously is a big big component of it. And if all you're drinking is soda, and if so many people are drinking gallons of soda every year, they're clearly dehydrated, and other issues as well. So that was kind of my thought process behind that recommendation. It's just probably one of the worst foods we've ever created. It's not even a food. Worst products. It's garbage.
Yeah, well, I mean, Coke started with cocaine in it too, so that was a whole other
Yeah.
deal. I mean, people are, you
Well,
know,
yeah.
people say it's still in there, and it's,
No, I don't
I mean,
think so.
you go down that rabbit hole forever. But yeah,
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the addictive behavior, no, I don't think it's in there, but I do think there's significant issues with um, addiction around it from whether it fires in the brain.
yeah, I mean,
So,
just the caffeine alone in those, and most of those sodas is enough to just keep you coming back for sure. Um,
yeah. Yeah.
I've just never. There's like people all have their like their soda or whatever they, if people drink it, they have like their one. I've just never been a
Mm,
fan of it. I mean,
yeah.
even in college when I had friends that were like, like Scotty was, into the Captain and Coke, and
Right.
it just didn't like the taste didn't get along with me.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It's one of those things. Um,
Totally.
but yeah, like I remember you saying those numbers before on the equation of how much soda is consumed in this country, and it was just like, holy crap, that's
Yeah.
that's a lot.
I haven't looked up those numbers in a while, but yeah, they're pretty high. So,
I can't imagine they've gone down.
no, I don't think so. I think it's probably higher.
Yeah,
Yeah, we could probably do a quick Google search and find it. Yeah. And every soda, every can has like 10 teaspoons of sugar in it of the high fructose corn syrup. So, I mean, that's a huge amount.
that's a
So,
ton, man. Yeah,
mhm. Yeah.
that's a lot. Um,
Hey,
okay,
did you like that video I sent you? Did you get a chance to watch that?
which one was that?
The one with the Stoic, the guy, the Daily
Oh
Stoic.
yeah,
Yeah. I thought that
yeah,
was cool. Kind of reminded me of some Gary V stuff.
yeah, a little bit. No, it also "Amor Fati" is a saying that I've heard for a while now.
Yeah.
Some of the guys that I kind of run with, and especially in the investment portfolio
Mm,
groups, it's a big deal. Like that's I mean
yeah.
it's a I wouldn't say a mantra, but it's been a way of thinking for me for a long time.
Yeah.
And I've misinterpreted it over the years, in different ways, I
Right.
think. But
Right.
especially when I was younger, but it was one of those things that I have always sided with, and it's if you get in that realm, you get that like that flow of energy. I've always realized how that affects me
Yeah.
positively,
Yeah.
and it's been yeah. So when you sent that video today, I was just kind of like it was like a little extra reminder. I actually went and wrote on my whiteboard. So I have
Yeah.
to have like little
I wrote it
sayings that I
down
kind
too.
of have to look
Right.
at, So I took those
Yeah.
sayings and I put them up there. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. We should. So yeah. So there was three. There's a little video on three different things that the great Stoic, philosophers and like Marcus Aurelius and those guys said, and yeah, one is amor fati, which is or fati, amor fati, basically love it all. So everything that happens
yeah,
is just embrace
yeah,
it.
you got to.
Just
When he was talking about what's up, Cory? Thanks for popping in, buddy. Good to see you. Um, that that concept when you have to roll it into like facing death of a loved one or
yeah, I know,
losing a
right?
job or
Right.
whatever it was,
Yeah,
the
your
way
house burning down or
yeah, your
whatever.
house is
Yeah.
well. Was that Edison he was talking about in that?
Yeah, Edison's
Thomas Edison.
factory burned. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and he went and he told his kids to go get their mom and come back. This will be the most incredible fire you'll ever see.
you've ever seen as his
Like,
whole
how do
world
you
goes
get
up in
there?
smoke. I know, man.
You've got your whole career, your whole life, like you've built all of this.
Right.
It burns down in front of you, and you
Yeah.
can get
Amazing.
there. Like that's, I mean, I
Yeah.
want to think I can get there in those situations, but strive for that for sure.
Right in that middle of that moment, that's pretty tough. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
Well,
could do it the next day. maybe.
Maybe, right.
But as you're watching it, I don't know, man. That was pretty impressive. No, it's a good one. I shared it a couple times with some people too.
Yeah. And then the second one was you control how you play, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much out there going on that it's nothing to do with you. You can't control it. You have no way to even influence
you can't
it.
control your teammates. You control how you play. You can't control the ref. You can't control the market. You know, you
can't control the public health model. Can't control the pharmaceutical companies.
No, you can try.
You could try. You're just gonna make yourself insane. So just control how you play. And then and then that third one I really like too. Yeah, memento mori. So I'm going to die. You know, and just relate. You know, life's short, like you were saying earlier. You know, and
it only picks up steam the older you get. But
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, especially right now, especially in the last 16, 18 months. I mean, what are we doing? We're preventing ourselves from getting sick and dying, right?
Yeah.
Based on whatever. And I'm,
totally. Yeah, and we talked about this. Yeah, we talked about this. I think one time having drinks, right? Like, and it's been something in medicine that's just been a fascinating thing to me is how everything, every treatment, every medication, every procedure, whatever, is essentially assessed for how it keeps people alive.
Right. Yep.
That's it. Like it's success or failure has to do with not dying.
Right.
And I get it. Like, I'm not saying I don't understand it. I mean, but I just think it's an interesting metric that we use. It's like the only metric that's used. And inside of that, there's so much to unpack, right? Like, what's your quality of life if you're alive? I mean, I don't,
right.
You know, that kind of thing. And I mean, there's a lot of aspects to this that I think that just the metric of do you stay alive or not, it's just such a small fraction of it. So
that's the measurable is, well, I'm preventing myself from dying. And I mean, I've literally heard people tell me that over the last year. Well, I'm doing this because I'm preventing myself and others from dying. And I said, you can't prevent that. You realize that, right? That day is coming. It's inevitable.
Right.
It's inevitable. So that video, and you're just like, that day will come.
Yeah, that day will come. So what are you going to do?
What are you doing?
Yeah, what are you going to do? You're going to live your life to fear that? You're going to live your life to try to stop it? You're going to live your life, or you're just going to enjoy every moment, you know? I mean, and work, like you always say, to try to better, your life and other people's, and as much as you can, So, and I think that's really where I come down, like where my heart is on all of this. I can only, I put out an Instagram post about that, and I said, when in the world do we become so afraid to die?
I saw that.
To get sick. When I said to get sick, and and I had people
being sick now. I mean, you even caught yourself at one point, like
yeah.
You're just like, oh God. I'm like, wait, what am I doing?
Right. Yeah. It's like, oh no. What's going to happen? I've been sick before. Now, I don't want to get sick. I don't like it, but
no one wants to be sick.
But yeah, I just think there's a shift that those stoic, those great people had, to be able to look at life that way. We can learn a lot from it,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I might even add that in. Just
memento mori. I'm going to die. Yeah, Gary Vee said that on some video he had. He had some woman stop him, and she said, "Give me 3 words," and he said, "You're gonna die."
You're gonna die. Yeah, I remember that.
And she's like, "Yeah, I think, yeah." I mean, that's one of his classic ones. But you can see I know where he got it from. That's where he got it from.
I mean, it was funny to watch her reaction because she kind of had that pretty quickly caught on to what he was actually getting at.
Right. Yeah. At first, she's like, "What?"
Wait. And he goes, "There you go. Think about that." And it's I don't know, man. It's with all the things that I've done over the years and all the stresses that we create on our own and all the things
Right.
that seem like, when my kids were at
Yeah.
Countryside, which is it was a private school for, I'm blanking on the actual term now because I'm tired, but um, they were told there's big deals and little deals, right?
Mm.
So this is like their preschool days. And kids come running up, and at that age, everything's a big deal. Like I stubbed my
Right.
toe, Johnny pushed
Right.
me,
Right.
Kelly said she's not my friend, whatever
Right.
it is. And the teachers would constantly harp on, no, not preschool. What's the name of the school at Countryside? What is it called? Help! But they would say, is this a big deal or a little deal? And the kid was, at first they're huffing and puffing, they're crying. It's a big deal. No, it's a little deal, and here's why. And it was funny because I started kind of using it on myself. You'd start. I mean, I've gone through panic attacks
Yeah.
before, and the stress is so Montessori. God, thank you, Jesus. I couldn't remember Montessori school, which is a cool way to learn, especially when you're a little
Yeah.
kid. But you get it. These stresses that at the time they're very important, or they seem very important. Um, and especially with all the stuff that we've dealt with over the last year, and so you get into
Yeah.
that realm of, is it how, like, what's the level of importance at this point? We're talking about, like, creating wealth and building for a future, and being allowing yourself to do all the things that people want to do and have things that they want and whatever, and be with the people they want to be. But the day to day really becomes little deals, because in
Yeah.
the end, like, my mother used to say this all the time to me, and she's like, if you don't have your health, what do you have?
Yeah.
Like, you look at guys like Steve Jobs, who
Right.
had
Yeah. Not very
more
healthy.
money than he could ever spend in his lifetime,
Right.
and he got terminal cancer. So it didn't mean
Yeah.
anything to him, you know. So what's a big deal and what's
Yeah.
a little deal? You got to separate those all the time, and that's
For
hard. Listen,
sure.
I'm
For
just as
sure.
guilty as the next person. I'm like, well, this is a big deal, and it's like the next day, it's like, really?
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've been really cognizant of last year is how easy it is to get kind of sucked into the kind of collective big deal, little deal kind of
Mm-hmm.
mind, just energy, I guess, of it all, and, um, when I hear what we're talking about here, I get really clear and quiet inside myself, what's important to me, what's important to my next steps, you know, that other stuff is just stuff that's out there. It's fucking frustrating, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really at the end of the day affect me. Um, unless I get sucked into it, and sometimes I do. And then,
It's
but
hard not to,
it's very hard.
um, but work at that kind of that philosophy
And
over
love it all, right?
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like everything we were talking about before,
Yeah.
is that momentum, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that flow of energy, like, really puts you in the right place to accept the stuff that's coming in. Um,
Yeah.
the guys, the guys that in the group are always talking about, yours is yours too, right? And it's true. Like, it's, you can't dwell on what didn't happen. You can only focus on what you're trying to do, and
Yeah.
when that day comes, it comes. It literally does, if you can accept that. So wrapping your head around what that really means. I was actually going to put this up too, to see if everybody could see it.
Oh, nice.
So it's the
Yeah.
ancient practice reflection of morality that goes back to Socrates. Socrates, what's up? Who said that
So
the proper
great.
practice of philosophy is about nothing else but dying and being dead. Which is, I mean,
Yeah.
think about that.
Yeah. There's a line in the Tibetan Book of the Dead that says everyone dies successfully,
Right.
which I think is a really profound statement.
Yeah.
It's like because we think that there's something wrong when people die. We think there's something bad about that, and I get it. Like it can definitely occur like that,
Yep.
for sure. But I think when we're talking about some of these bigger concepts, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, this sums it up right here. But so, who wants to think about death? Well, I mean, no one really wants to think about death,
not really.
truly.
Yeah.
But what if instead of being scared and unwilling to embrace this truth, we did the opposite, right?
Yeah.
What if reflecting and meditating on the fact that it was a simple key to living life to the fullest, or that it was the key to our freedom? To practice death is to practice freedom. A man who has learned how to die has unlearned how to be a slave. So
yeah, and I mean, and picture
what
that
means.
Yeah, and like what that looks like for your health right now, right? Like you're not giving up and you're just eating whatever and waiting to die, right? You're engaged. You're because it doesn't matter in a lot of ways, but you want this something that you're engaged in because you choose it and because and the same I think with building wealth. Like you could have the argument, well, why even worry about all of that, because you're going to die. It's like, well, because you want to experience it all. You want to experience creating, being creative, building, expanding yourself, challenging yourself, maybe losing everything. Who knows, right? Like you're going to experience all of that through that process.
Well, yeah, I mean,
or pieces of it.
Yeah, it says to treat our time as a gift and not waste it on the trivial and vain. So that's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're not just like, well, if that's now, well, it does because you're treating this time you have as a gift because the gift, and I'm not trying to get religious on anybody here, but this is what you're respecting the fact that you're here as a gift and that every day is a gift. So act as if that way, which means as you're moving through each day, don't drink soda. And, and drink more water. Skip the Wendy's run. Don't tell me you don't have time to get a good meal. We're all guilty of it. I've done it, but
yeah, and don't pull out your credit card and buy shit you don't need, and
right. Yep.
Like just, or if you do that kind of stuff, like start exploring why. Start exploring what's behind it. Look at.
Yep.
I mean, there's so many behavioral things that we have that are programmed in as kids. That could be a whole other conversation, that we have.
For sure.
Like what past things, right? So, but yeah, I love that idea. Like connecting to that just gift every day as much as we can, right? And put that out to everyone around us.
Yep.
So. Yeah.
Put it up so everybody can see it.
Memento mori. AMOR FATI.
Yep. Write those down.
AMOR FATI.
Write those down.
Wendy's to fuck. Shane likes Wendy's.
Don't play that game.
Shane loves Wendy's. I don't know what it is about it.
But. I wouldn't say I love Wendy's. It's the less of more of the evils.
It's the only one I ever hear you talk about.
I walk into McDonald's without gagging. I cannot. I've literally thrown up from Burger King. My wife knows that. I've thrown up all over her car from it, actually. What else is out there? Good Times. It's probably on par with Wendy's, which isn't saying a lot, but if I had to. When I wanted to make fun of de Blasio, that's what I did. I said, well, there's no good burger places around here, like not that close. Right. So that was my choice anyway. Don't eat it. Just don't do it. You can find something else. You can go grab bag salad at King Soopers, and it's just as fast, if not faster, and probably the same price. So
probably.
It's going to taste better at least, except for the fries. The fries are pretty damn good. I like fries.
Yeah. They figured that out, how to make them taste good.
Yeah, just sprinkle some cocaine on there. It's fine. That's all you got.
Or something.
Yeah. All right, Senor.
All righty.
Thanks
Well,
for showing up.
hey, man. I'm telling you, that link you sent me last week did not connect me. It said, literally, it said, this event is over.
Well, I'm calling our server, and I'm going to tell them that's BS. That's not right. They're fired.
So,
Fired.
all right. I was all set to go, sitting here at 7, rolling in.
Yeah.
But
Well, I'll make sure that it's ready for your highness next time, a little bit ahead.
I appreciate that.
That
I
link's
appreciate
supposed to
that.
work every time. Damn it. It's all right. I enjoyed talking without you. You were less of a distraction, except for when you were in the chat, and I was like, whoa, hold on. I'm still talking. Just wait a minute. It's about me right now.
But you were talking shit. He's a doc. He's always late. I'm like, dude, I can't fucking get in. Give me
facts, though. Facts.
Yeah, that's actually not my.
Maybe not Dr. Matt. He's not like
right.
that. But listen, I've waited for plenty of doctors. Plenty of doctors. All right, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Yeah, man. Hey, thanks. I appreciate it as well. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Yeah. If you haven't yet, just subscribe. We would appreciate it if you did. That subscribe button. Hit that bell for notifications so you can be notified of when we go live every Wednesday.
Yeah, and we'll do it earlier. I just had a engagement.
Dr. Matt's busy. He's a busy guy. So stuff comes. It's all good. It's all good, man. I got to eat some dinner before I jumped on this time, so it was fine.
Perfect.
Yeah. Hit the thumbs up if you guys wouldn't mind as well. It helps build our channel, which builds everybody's wealth and health as well. Like I said, I've got videos coming out every Monday and Friday. If you haven't checked out the podcast, we posted on Monday. Dr. Matt was on that one, so go ahead and go back to that. We did talk about building health on that one too, so it's kind of in line with our Wednesday live streams too. So also on all audio platforms. That's it, man. I've had a long couple of weeks, so I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Put my feet up.
Sounds good, man. Enjoy.
Yeah, but I will see you Friday, maybe.
Yeah, I think
dig deeper.
Might as well.
For sure. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Thanks for listening to us ramble. And if you've got anything you want us to talk about next week, drop them in the comments below. Otherwise, we'll catch you guys next Wednesday. Appreciate it. Later, Dr. Matt.
See ya.